to have some fun. Hope nobody cries, but we could cry. Who knows? But want you to come over and spend some time with us. These are smart, intelligent, beautiful women. So right now, 10 seconds left. I need you to go on over to YouTube and join us. Hi,
Hello, how are you?
everybody.
Hi.
This is my first YouTube Live, and I wanted to thank Gwendolyn for hosting us through her StreamYard because I don't have StreamYard, and she can tell you I had so many difficulties today trying to get on. But we're here, and we have young ladies. We have four ladies who are going to be having a wonderful conversation tonight. So when I thought about this Galentine's Day, I didn't think about couples. I thought about connection. And if I'm being honest, my friendship land has not been the best for the past couple of years. And also, I haven't had a true Valentine in the traditional sense for I don't even know how long. So, because grief shows up differently and it changes how you interact with people, it changes how you value presence. But what I've learned is that love doesn't disappear. It shows up differently. That's all. I mean, it's a different way it shows up. And what is beautiful about tonight is that I've never met any of these ladies in person. Yet we interact almost every day on YouTube, in comment sections, in conversations, in shared space. And somehow that consistency has built something real. It reminds me that connection is not always about proximity, it's about presence. So the four of us are going to just speak tonight candidly. Think girlfriend Zoom, energy, honesty, openness, respectful, real. Please feel free to chime amongst in the chat. From time to time, we'll all glance over and we might bring up a comment or not. But at the end, don't worry. We're going to open it up for Q&A. So make sure you stick around. And tonight is just, it's not about relationship status. It's about women choosing to show up for one another in whatever season we're in. Marriage and its longevity, like Alieze, marriage and its intention, singlehood, widowhood, youth, growth, becoming. And as I said into the email when I invited the ladies to join the panel tonight, this is not a performance. This is us. These three ladies are real deal Holyfield. They don't sugarcoat anything, but it's a conversation and it's a safe space and a space for wisdom, a space where we can talk about love in all its forms and the sisterhood that carries us through. My hope is tonight that this feels like a safe, soft space for you and that you see yourself somewhere in this conversation and that you leave reminded that love is not scarce. It simply evolves. Thank you for being with us and let's begin. So the ladies, you can go. I want you guys to each introduce yourself and say whatever you want to say. You have minutes, so do what you need to do. Who's going to go
I think
first?
I think Miss Alieze should start off.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been drafted. So hello everyone. My name is Alieze Harvey Stallworth, as you all see. I um, I am a wife, mother, grandmother, married to my husband for 50 years. We've been together for almost 54. And I'm looking forward to sharing with you all and talking to amazing women tonight about that journey and relationships and friendships and how those things have evolved in my life and how I have reflected on those. Because I think the most important thing that I do is reflect. And at my core, I am a very nurturing person who, when I say I love you, is real. And so that's the first thing you need to know about me. And that means everything. I'm one of those people, if I love you, I'm ride or die. I'll take a plane, train, whatever I need. If you need me, I will be there, as the song says. I show up. And that's how I want to introduce myself. So.
Okay, perfect.
Am I going next?
Okay.
Okay, I'll
G
go next.
Money. G Money's next.
I would say that I am the angry translator for Miss Alieze. Because where she stops, I will pick up and take the baton. I too am married. It'll be 9 years in September, 10 years together overall. And sharing this relationship, and I would say, like Miss Alieze, I do a lot of reflection. There's a lot of learning. So I'm excited about our conversation this evening. I'm going to throw the baton to Jazzy.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jazzy or Jasmine, but most of the real ones call me Jazzy, or Jazz, or any form of that. Who am I? I'm the cool auntie that all my nieces and nephews come to whenever they need something. I am single. I wouldn't say I'm ready to mingle. I'm just single and chilling. If the good Lord blesses me, then it will be. But I'm in a space where I'm just reflecting on myself, my self-worth, my loving myself in all types of energy. And I'm really excited for this conversation. And I'm just, I'm here. I was going to come on and say, hey, I'm Jazzy, and not say anything else just to mess with Lisa, but I'm not going to do that.
Okay, so just real quickly, the people who are Instagram, come on over to YouTube. It's my same handle. Come on over to YouTube so you can get to see all the ladies. You're here just looking at me, but I want you to come over and participate in the conversation. So for me, briefly, I am Lisa. I'm a Capricorn. I go, what was that? I go by the Zodiac Capricorn. Remember, that was an old song like that. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'm a mother. I'm a widow. I am an author. I run a company called Hello Healing, which helps women, just in the quickest way I can say it is to get unstuck. I was stuck, and I participated in things that I shouldn't have in terms of self-worth, boundaries, because those were things that I was taught that women do, and I was just following the script. But then I bumped my head a couple too many times, and I woke up. And so I decided to take my lessons and try to help other people from falling into those same pitfalls. I'm an avid traveler. I love traveling. I love fashion. I love people. Although, as I said in the opening, I found out recently, or lately in the past year and a half, that when you have boundaries, friendships will fall by the wayside, because people really don't like boundaries. They don't like you to be confident in yourself, to know what you want. And so I'm open to new people coming to my life. Like I said, I don't know these three young ladies personally, but we talk all the time. Like, first of all, Gia and I talk for hours and hours on the phone. And the only way we get off the phone is when her husband calls her to make her get off the phone. So I'm excited. Yeah, we were talking about it. I said, hey, I want to do a Galentine's thing. Do you want to do it? And then so that's how it came out. That's how this came to be. So I see the people still coming on IG. Thanks for coming over here. So now I asked the ladies to bring a beverage so we could toast this evening and then get our party started. So tonight is not about perfection. It's not about having it all figured out. It's about women choosing to show up honestly, vulnerably, and powerfully, to friendship that feels safe, to conversations that feel healing, to growth that feels intentional, to the bridges we've burned, to the women we're becoming, to the peace we are no longer willing to negotiate, and most importantly, to loving ourselves loudly, fully, and without apology. Happy Galentine's Day to us. Cheers.
Cheers to that. Yes. I love it. Oh, wait.
So I'm not drinking. I got lemonade in my cup.
I'm pretending,
So
my sparkling water.
You have sparkling water. At least
Made fancy.
I have homemade sorrel.
Ooh, I love it so much.
Yes.
Did you put ginger in your?
Yes, I put ginger, plenty of ginger in it.
It's so good for you. I posted yesterday in my stories about hibiscus. I mean, obviously hibiscus leaves make the sorrel, but I make that like every day. It's so good for so many health things. So if you haven't tried it, you should try it. And what are you having, Miss Gwendolyn?
I am drinking absinthe.
Now, I know what it is, but can you tell the people who are watching us what that is?
It's a spirit. It is a spirit, right? If I can
Uh-huh.
get myself focused, but it's back in the day, it has some medicinal effects, and they thought it could make people get kind of loopy and do things. But it's uh, it's good to have at your bar. You just want to sip on it, just sip on it. Don't. But you will not have any kind of hallucinations like in Girls Trip. That's not true. Okay.
Yeah, I heard it was like that. That's why I asked you to explain it because I heard it was.
It will not do. It'll hit you really quick though, but it won't have you hallucinating. No.
So no big gulps, huh?
No big gulps. No.
And do you have it?
Slow.
How do you have it? Neat or iced?
I have it neat.
Oh, okay.
So just me and a whole bunch
But
of
it's
spirits, right?
green.
Yeah. Oh yes, green.
Okay.
Pink and green, baby.
So-
No, I'm not that, but I like
I,
pink and
I,
green.
well, does everybody know that green is your color this year? You know how Pantone has the colors of the year? Well, this year, G's color is. Do you have a particular green or any green?
I have 5 greens I'm working with from
Okay.
light to dark.
Hmm.
And I
And
see.
they all represent something different.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I see some of our regular, people in the chat because I was like, "We're the people," but I didn't have it on our chat. I don't know how to do that. Like Dr. Tachi, Hellier, Kimmy Kim, and when you guys see people, if you want to shout them out too. But let's start off with the OG in the building, the wisdom carrier that we all rely on for all things, especially political things. So Miss Alieze.
Yes.
What does love look like in your life right now? Right now, not historically, but presently.
So love for me right now starts with me. That's the first starting place. It didn't always start with me. At one point it was right now it starts with me and me making sure that I do have some boundaries. And it's also showing people how I want to be treated and how I want to be cared for. So love at one point, the phrase "I love you" became so overused to me. Now I watch people. I want to see people love you because I love you is not loving someone is not just mere words. It's also an action. So for me right now, love is about the actions that and things I do with people, for people. It's the support that I give. It's just reaching out to people, letting them know that you're thinking about them. That incorporates love for me. Love is just, and it's also reciprocal. Something, and that's the one thing that I've learned over time that all people, not everyone understands that love is indeed a two-way street. We give and keep just giving. I stopped giving myself. It caused me so much stress and mental health issues that I had to learn how to love myself first, so I can love other people better, and I can also show other people how to love me right.
I like that. I like that. Mhm. For me, I a couple of years ago, I don't know if you guys remember, like when we had the first beepers, right? And we used to write 142 on the like to the person who, gee, you could take me off. I don't like, you could put all 4 of us back on. You know how you put 142 and that meant I love you? Well, I mean 143 meant I love you. So I had this thing, I was like, oh, I'm gonna put 142 because U was for the 3 letters in 3 was for the 3 letters in you. So 142, I put the 2 letters in me. And I just had this epiphany. And, after, much therapy, whatever, like people treat you how well, and this is my opinion, how well you love yourself. And so I wasn't loving myself properly. And so I literally put 142, you can't see it probably, but I have 142 tattooed on my wrist. So I'll never forget to love myself first. And if any relationship, I don't care who it is, I know I have this thing with my mom all the time. She'll be like, oh, call your cousin. No, no. And well, your family, no. Because guess what? Family can be toxic as well. And if someone in my family is making me feel less than good about myself, scissors. So yeah, I think that loving yourself is paramount, and then that love disseminates and actually attracts that back to you.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing I wanted to add is my older sister started having children when I was 13. So her youngest was born when I was 15. And he has this habit of always saying, I love you, but he's never shown it. Like all these years, he's never been to visit me where I live. So one day I told him, I said, you don't love me, you love dear and access to me. So what I can do for you. And so it bothered him a little bit, but I think that sometimes we have to let people know that when they say it, we have to let people know it's hard. Because that's how we show how we're showing ourselves and how we're letting other people know how they need up for us and what love means to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that often I feel like now I'm more involved and invested in trying to make myself feel good about myself instead of looking outwards, because I think sometimes, for a long time, I was seeking outward validation from not just people, but from things like, you want to feel like you're connected to people all the time. But for me, I was like, okay, you have to start with connecting with yourself. What do you do for yourself? I know so many people that are so afraid to do things by themselves. Like I've told people, oh, I'm going to the movies, I'm going out to dinner, I'm going wherever by myself. And the amount of times I've had people tell me like, oh my gosh, like you're actually doing that. And I was like, well, I'm not married. I don't, and even if I was married, honestly, I'd probably do the same thing. Cause I definitely just think that you have to love on yourself before you can love on others. And I think it's important to make sure that you're doing the action behind the word, because you can tell somebody, like Alieze said, I love you. I can tell anybody I love them. But if you're not showing me that you're loving me, what does that really mean? And it doesn't have to be some grand gesture, right? Like Alieze and I go out to lunch like every month. Like we try to meet up with each other every month, or we'll text each other and just say, how are you doing? Or what's your day like? Or I'm just sending you love for the day, right? And I think sometimes, those little moments, those little things of just checking in on people and making sure that they're okay is an actionable item. And I think so many times we're sitting around like, oh, I love you. And it's like, what does that really mean to you? You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of people talk about boundaries, but I don't think they talk about it in a way where it's like, I have a boundary that I'm unwilling to like stop when it comes to love, because we all want to feel loved. But I think so many times we allow people into our box that don't always deserve to be there. And sometimes you have to just set up, yourself to say, hey, like you're not loving me the way that I feel like you should. And it is okay to say, for my own sake, I'm okay with letting that go. And it doesn't mean you have to be rude and just be like, whatever. It's just saying like, okay, I want to love on myself so much that like, I'm not willing, like Lisa said earlier, to allow somebody to make me feel a certain way. And honestly, nobody can make you feel a certain way. It's how you're reacting to it. You know what I mean? Like what is it? 99% of the time, or like 10% of the time, it's about, what happened to you. 99% or 90% of the time is how you react to something. And I really do believe that, because there's a lot of things that people will do to you, but it's like, okay, how do I show up and love on myself despite that? And so I think it's good to show up for yourself.
Oh, wow. Now that I gotta bring that last leg in. There was a post There was a post where someone said, you need to know when to remove people from the VIP section into general admission. And I thought, you know what? I can get down with that. When I think about love and my journey in terms of loving myself, I love me some G. I actualize it, I say it out loud, I show it. And when you have that energy, it shows up for you. I do know that love is an action verb. You can say a lot of stuff, but your actions will always say so much more. But I also keep in mind, being a 70s baby, that I'm working through some deprogramming. You know, as a young Black woman from the 70s, the whole idea was being chosen by someone and preparing yourself to be chosen by someone. And God forbid, if you're not married by a certain age, you're like this old maid and you're a rotten fruit. And these are the awful messages that are still out here today. So when I talk about love and when I talk about women, I want every woman to know from a very young age that it starts with you first. You have to love you first. And when you show yourself love, it shows everybody else how to love you. Like it's a natural thing. Now, if you are a person who is piss poor in that department, that shows too. So there you go.
Yeah. Can I
Yes.
just add also to circle back to? I also believe, because this happened to me, because I feel like I was super confident, and then I lost my husband, and then I entered into a super toxic relationship, probably on both of our sides, quite honestly. But I knew it was toxic, but I stayed. And I feel like all women, when you see that first red flag, there are others. Don't not, I'm not saying you have to leave on the first flag, but you might think about it deeply, because there are probably others behind it. And for me, I was reading something earlier and they asked the young lady, well, why did she stay so long? I was in a relationship for 10 years, and half of the time I was lying to myself that this person would get better. Let's go to therapy. But, you know, people say the things they want you to hear, you know, like, and so I would just say my advice is to definitely love yourself and work on that. Like, most, I don't know with the whole thing now with our government, but if you have health insurance, you most likely have the ability to get a therapist through your insurance. And I would recommend that you get a therapist. And although I'm, quote, a life coach, I don't call myself that. I call myself a healing strategist. But I'm not a life coach. I mean, a real therapist with a real degree, not a certification, that's going to help you. Because what people might not realize is a therapist is not going, they're not supposed to tell you the answers. They want you, they're giving you little bits and pieces for you to have the recognition yourself, so you can have the epiphany. So you want to, if you decide that you want to go to therapy, and I tell this to some of my family members as well, you can interview them, and if one doesn't fit with you, get another one. You know, you can just switch out. You don't have to stay with somebody who you don't feel aligned to. But I would definitely recommend therapy, and I would definitely recommend, once you see a red flag, to maybe bounce. And depending how old you are too. Depending how old you are as well. I mean, especially young girls. I mean, if you are older, like I'm thinking about that now. I'm older and I really don't have the patience for a red flag. Like, honestly, no.
Yeah,
But I was
topic of red flags too. I had a post probably a couple of that's been up for years. Stop trying to change red flags to green.
Right.
Yeah, if you're not cautioned, that red flag is a stop sign. It means stop, let go and move on. It's not going to change, because what you cannot do is you can never change someone else.
Nope.
And as you said, Lisa, one of the things that I told a man this one day, I said, you trained to tell women what you think they want to hear, not actually reveal who you truly are. And too many people, and that's on both. I've had men in my life do it and women in my life do it, who spend so much time in relationships trying to turn those red flags green and misery. I had a friend who lived in misery for over 30 plus years until his wife died. Then he died not without ever being really happy. That's a long time to see everything and caution and spend your time trying to make a red flag turn green when it's not. It's just red. It means stop. It doesn't take 10 of them. It doesn't take 10 of them. Just let it go. And I know it's easy to say and not all and hard for people to do, but I've been since young able to let a red flag go.
Yeah. But also too, I think that people need to remember this is not just for a romantic relationship. This is for girlfriends, for, you know, be mindful and look with a side eye. The people that say, well, that's your auntie or that's your uncle or whatever. Like, no, my husband used to say, everybody is eligible. Meaning like anybody can get it. And I'm just like, I'm at an age right now where I'm like, no, no, it's just not. I think about like, I saw something like, and I say this often sometimes, like, how many summers do we have left? For me, realistically, 2025, I don't want to waste any of them on anyone that's going to make me feel bad, not good about myself, second guess myself, gaslight me, all that. And I've also come to the realization that I might not find, a new mate, and that's okay too. Gwendolyn always gives me when I say things like that, she says, no, she tries to give me hopeful advice, but I'm not against it. I'm just saying I'm not like actively searching for it. And it's definitely not in my DM. So all the guys who are in my DMs it's not going to happen. No, I'm old school. I'm very traditional. I like to be courted. I'm from a different era. And so these new guys, they're just different. These guys are different. Go ahead, G. You had something.
Well, I'll let Jazzy go, and then I'll go.
I was just gonna say, when people show you who they are, believe them. That's what Maya Angelou said, right? Like I feel like sometimes because people don't want to be alone, they tolerate certain things that they normally wouldn't just because they want that companionship. And I think that's where the loving yourself and knowing yourself comes in, right? Like, I haven't been with somebody in a very long time, right? And sometimes I do look at myself and I have these things about me where I'm like, oh man, like I must not be worthy or I must not be whatever. And I have to immediately say like, okay, no, you can't think that way, right? Because your self-worth can't be tied up in everybody else. And it's very hard sometimes when you do see everybody around you having experiences that you don't have. But I also think that it's like, we sometimes want somebody around so bad that we're willing to overlook red flags. It's not that we don't see the red flags. We see the red flags. We know the red flags are there. We just ignore them because we want somebody sitting beside us. Mm-hmm. We want to say, look, I went on a vacation with Boo Bae. We want to say, like, instead of just going and having a good time by yourself, right? We're so afraid to do that. One of the best vacations I ever had was by myself. Right. And at first, I remember at the time I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like I'm actually going somewhere by myself. And I felt really insecure about it. The best time. Went to the beach, laid out, woke up when I wanted to, went shopping when I wanted to, had some yoga time, had whatever I wanted to do. And I think so many times we tell people like, you have to have a companion in order to live your life. No, you don't. Go to the restaurant. You want to go to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse and eat whatever, go ahead and do it. If you want to go to Morton's or wherever the experience is, you can do it by yourself. Don't be afraid to. And I think so many times we tell women especially like, okay, your worth is tied up in some kind of man. And it's like, no, it's not. No, there's nothing wrong with you if you're 40 and you don't have a spouse, right? Like there's nothing wrong with you. And I need us to stop allowing the red flags to stick and be willing to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, it's okay to be by myself and do and experience things by myself. And then try to find a community elsewhere, right? Like Lisa said at the beginning of this, most of us on the screen have never met in person, right? Like, but yet we have community every single day. And I think that's something that's special, right? You don't have to bond yourself to somebody just because they're right next to you. You can have experiences in life with people that are not around you every single day. And I just need us to understand, like, community is out there. And I'm not going to say it's not. There are times, like, I have my moments. I'm not going to lie and sit here and say I'm happy all the time to be alone. I would be lying. Over the weekend, I was like, dang, man, I wish somebody was here to watch this movie with me. Like I genuinely felt like that. And I had my little moment. And I was like, okay, but you're still watching the movie, so you're fine. Granted, I fell asleep, but whatever. But, you just have to find that space and, like, be okay with it. Sit with yourself for a second and let yourself feel those emotions, but don't let that emotion overcome you. Be okay. Because I always tell people, I much rather be by myself and feeling whatever kind of way than to be with somebody feeling sad and upset because they just flung like verbally abused me in some way, right? Or even if it's not that, right? Even if it's not verbally abusive, right? Just dealing with things that you wouldn't normally tolerate if it wasn't for this person. You don't need to sit in that. And I think so often we sit in these moments and we say, well, we have to, because if they're not here, all the rest of these guys on these dating apps are trash. Stop saying that. I mean, some of them are, but at the same time, like, you know what I mean? Like, not everybody is trash, right? Not everybody. And also, like, and I'm talking to myself here, if you want to go find somebody, like, granted, you got to get out the house. I'm notorious. I don't like going out. I go out sometimes, but I will stay in my house with my fluffy socks on forever if I could. Like, I'm fine, but I have to be realistic with myself in that. So yeah, you just have to have fun and experience, but stop allowing society to tell you that you're unworthy because you don't have these things and these people by your side. You're not unworthy. You're a beautiful person. No matter what you look like, no matter if you look in the mirror every day and say, I'm ugly. No, you're not. Stop saying that to yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you have to show up for yourself, even when you don't want to. So, yeah.
I will say about the red flags, the messages from society. This society does not value being an individual, especially for women. The whole idea is if you're not partnered up by a certain time, i.e., before you get out of college, then you got problems. But the fact of the matter is, we are our whole self. And when we think about some of those messages, like, I understand that we are all of age, but studies have been shown to tell us that there are young women already experiencing the impact of these red flags. He only hits you because he loves you. Right? And so you're like, okay, well, he just hit me and he just said this to me. So that's gotta be love, right? So it doesn't have to be that we're older and we notice red flags. We want young women, we want the little girls, we want everyone to recognize the red flags in all relationships, be it your family members, be it romantic, be it platonic. It's there. It's definitely there. Now, I am a loner. Gwendolyn's a loner. So I don't mind being by myself. Lived in New York City, had a damn great time. Because if you want to be a single person, New York City's got the most single people. At the exact same time, though, as you mentioned, you can find community. It doesn't have to be a partnership. And when we talk about relationships, I understand that, again, this society believes in marriage, but what is it for you? Is it that we live together, or is it that you have a house and I have a house and we meet in the middle? Like, you get to decide what that looks like. That's for you to choose. I know we're given values as a child, but at a certain point when you become yourself, you get to decide whatever it is that you want to do for your life. You just have to go out and get it. Like, you got to grab that bull by the horns and ride that bitch. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I think too? I always travel alone. I actually prefer it than groups. But what I find that is people try to gaslight you, strangers, maybe friends too. Um, why are you traveling alone? Well, I mean, I literally had someone one time when I traveled ask me, was I working? I'm like, what do you mean? She thought I was like, there for a sugar daddy or something. I'm like, no. She goes, why would you travel alone? I love it. Like Jazzy said, you can do whatever you want to or do nothing. You can lay in your bed all day and get room service, or you could go out and do excursions. Now you have to be smart about doing excursions. But, when I went to Mexico and I wanted to go to some of the cenotes, I literally hired someone to drive me around all day and go to the cenotes with me. So I was always protected with a man. I got the person from my hotel. It wasn't somebody that I, picked up on the street. My hotel secured the person for me. But I think every woman should definitely travel by themselves. It's so it's first of all, it's a reset. It gives you it lets you learn yourself so much, and things that no matter what age you are, you could be 65 and you can be like, wow, I didn't know that I liked so and so or so and so. It's very eye opening, and I would definitely suggest that you take a solo trip. But I don't know about a cruise though, because they be throwing people off the side. So I don't know, but maybe something.
It takes a lot to fall off the ship. It takes a lot. People who are falling off the ship is like, what are you doing? Standing on the rail?
What are you doing? I made that joke because whoever is the people who are watching us, Gwendolyn is like, she loves cruises, and have you ever been on a cruise when someone fell off, Gwendolyn?
No, we're talking like it's not like when you're at these rails that they're here, like they are here. It takes a lot to get up there and fall off the ship. It takes a lot. It's like, what are y'all doing? What are you doing? Now, the people I have seen who have done it on video, because clearly not on my ships, but they are climbing things. Yeah. They're double daring other people. Hey, look, come on. Are you serious right now? No, ain't nobody doing that.
Okay.
Well, you already know that I spend a lot of my time traveling by myself.
Yes. Yes.
Taking myself on dates.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Let's move on a little bit. So, Jazzy, we're gonna go for your question. If you are single, do you ever feel treated differently by friends who are married or in partnership? And if so, in what ways?
Okay, so I don't think people try to do this all the time intentionally, because I think what it is just societal norms, right? And people saying, when are you getting married? When are you going to have a baby? When are you going to, experience these things? But again, like I was saying earlier, I think oftentimes that when people do that, even if they're doing it subconsciously, they don't realize what they're really saying. And sometimes I answer by just saying, okay, whatever, I'm living my life. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Right. But then there's other times when people will sit there and say, well, something must be wrong or something, whatever. Or then I've also had people say, I want to hook you up with Joe Blow Smobo. And they're just not somebody that I would normally go for. And I think sometimes people are just like, you're desperate. And I'm like, I'm not desperate at all. I don't, you know what I mean? I think sometimes people don't mean to, but how do I say this? I had somebody say one time where they're like, oh, I don't want to be 40 and alone. And I'm like, I'm 40 and I'm alone. What are you thinking about me when you say that? And it was something that was such a offhanded comment at the time, right? But it's I called him out on it and I said, well, what do you mean when you say that? Is that how you view me? Because what do you view me as? And I don't think people always try to put you down in it, but I think they try to put you in your place. So for me, I'm my place will always be what it is, right? I'll always have a seat at my table. I'll always be okay with myself. And I'm not going to say that I haven't had my moments, because I've had things where I've gone through a grieving process of okay, I'm 41, right? I wanted kids. it's not impossible to have kids, but the reality of that is not really there, right? I saw somebody recently was like, oh, I had a child at 45. No, I don't want that. And I'm not, and I don't, I don't knock anybody that does, but I personally don't want that. Not, and it has to do a lot with the fact that like my mom had me when she was a little older, right? And so, I understand what that feels like to be a child of somebody that's older, right? And so for me, that's never what I wanted. And some people will come up to me and say, trust God's timing. And sometimes it's like, I know you're trying to be encouraging, but like, that's not encouraging in some ways, right? Because then you see the other side of it where it's like, everybody's always kind of like, God answered all my prayers and you must not be praying hard. And it's like, what are we saying here? Like, so I just think that sometimes people unknowingly say and do things to try to belittle. And I kind of think it was kind of what like Gwendolyn said earlier, where it's unlearning what we were taught as children, the Cinderella effect of like, you're going to get that glass slipper and this guy is going to come up to you and he's going to, sure, it may happen. And I'm never going to say never, right? But what I am going to say is if it doesn't happen, I still have to live my life and be okay with me. And so I think sometimes when people do that and say that, I just want them to be aware, like, what are you saying about that person that you're subconsciously saying about them? But also, like, why do you feel like that's something that somebody has to have? Because it doesn't mean that you can't have a good, fulfilling life without a relationship in that way. And I think so many times we are taught that we cannot. And, we're told, oh, you're going to be very lonely when you get older. I might be. That's the truth, right? I don't know. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I can't force somebody to love me, right? So it's like, what do I do with that if that's not an experience that I have? And you have to work within that boundary or whatever boundary that is that you have for yourself and say, okay, now how do I deal with that? How do I show up for myself, even though these are things that I wanted in my life, right? And really, it's like we said earlier, doing the things that you want to do and just not hoping, but like doing the things that you want to do and just living your life the best way you can. I'm always going to have a roof over my head if there was a man or not to take care of me. I hate that whole thing. I don't know. I just, that's a whole nother conversation for a different day. But like but I'm still going to have to show up for myself. I'm still have to wake up, cook breakfast, like do the things that I need to do. People act like, okay, you're single. How do you take out the trash? I'm like, do you think this just piles up in the middle of the, you know what I'm saying? Like, what would you do if this man wasn't here? And so for me, I'm like, I think sometimes people ask questions like that and they don't realize like how ridiculous some of it sounds. So, yeah.
Can I jump on that?
Mm-hmm.
I know my face is like, what in the world?
Trust me, I've heard a lot of things.
So I will say this. I will say, as a person who didn't get married till I was 42, people do tend to see those who are single as having so much more time, not having anyone looking for them. It's like, where you're single, you can work later. You can do a 4-week trip away from your home and your loved one because you're not married. Right? This society puts a lot of heavy emphasis on marriage. And I think it's great. I am married. I get it. However, I go back to humans just need other good humans. There are whole communities now where it's just women. It's all women. It's not a man in sight. Right? And people are happy and they're at home. They are one with themselves. So when we talk about relationships, we immediately go to something that is romantic. Our best relationship, our most loving and longest relationship tends to be platonic. And it tends to be a friendship that has lasted 20, 30, 40 years. That if we lost that one friend that we've had for 40 years, we're like, dang, man, I I don't know what to do now. Like, I don't have her, him, or whomever in my life anymore. So I get that when you talk about single people, like, why aren't you like hooked up and why aren't you doing this? And it's like, well, maybe that's not the life that I'm looking to live. There is this idea that women should have some man save them from something. Look, first of all, maybe it's not another man. Can we just all put that out there? Whatever you believe in is what you believe in, but maybe it ain't got to be no dude. You know what I'm saying? So that's one. But more importantly, every single person is worthy with or without. Like, I'm not less because, but I have found this: the people who have not found themselves, and I hate to say find themselves, but they're not solid, they're not complete. They're the main ones looking for somebody else to fill in the gaps. And they're miserable. So they look at you, single person, like, why are you always happy when you don't have anybody? Well, you got somebody, you miserable. So you're not a great example.
Yeah.
Just in case you had it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, if I gotta be, if I have to be with that person and be miserable, I could just do that by myself. Like, I don't need somebody for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I put my comment in there earlier. Sometimes those people that are out there saying those things, Jazzy, want you to live the same miserable existence they're living.
They do.
They're not all that happy, you know, and that's just the truth. You know, I have been married a very long time, but it came about my story is very interesting. But anyway, but you know, for my children, I have 3 children. I was like, live life. You know, I tell my son, go out there and live that life, travel. He said, I'm going to go and spend a month in Europe. I said, go ahead, because you don't have a dog, you don't have a child, you don't have a mate, you don't have a partner telling you on their clock. You don't have any of that. Live that life. You know, even as a married person, you got to live your life too. And that person has to also live their life. And I think that's the thing that people have to realize. I had 2 amazing friends. Unfortunately, they both passed on, you know, but they were the most amazing. And I missed them constantly because they were the ones, you know, my girlfriend was like, look, do we have to go tear something up? You know? Or do I come up to the school and handle somebody for you? That kind of thing. And I was the same way with her, you know, the same way. And one was male and one was female, you know, and that was that. He had a wife, and she had to understand, I'm his sister. I don't want him, and plus he couldn't handle me anyway because I had my personality not like that. But you also have to be able to understand what real friendships are, and I think that's the beauty of this conversation as well. It's not just about those relationships, with a husband or partner. It's about your relationships with people. Most importantly, your relationship with yourself, which makes you able to have better relationships with people. And I think that's the important part, is that we can't miss that. It really is about how we interact with people and how they support and how we support each other. And I think the key part, and you know, Jazzy's been to my house. There's all kind of people that come to my house. It doesn't matter to be married, doesn't matter what your choices are. Now there are some on the political scene, you won't be up in here, but you know, I do some boundaries on that side.
Well, I wanted to say, I used to have a friend. I say used to, and she would always say, I mean, literally everything. She started with my husband, my husband, my husband, and it used to irk me so much. I'm like, I know that's your husband. You could say his name, like, but it just was so irritating. And I have like 2 different things, and then 2 more. And then when my husband started playing for the Pacers, like when we're rookies, there was a wife. I'm not going to say who they are, but she said, I'm so and so's wife. She didn't even say her first name.
Oh wow!
And I am like Brooklyn down to the ground, like who is that? Like, you know, like I was going to fight like in the wives room because she came up to me in that, you know, disrespectful manner. And then the older wife said to me, oh, you know, don't worry about her. She's like that. And then subsequently, years later, she got divorced. And I'm like, well, who is she now? Because your identity was your husband. And I think Alieze just said it, or I don't know who just said it, but it's paramount that you have a separate identity and life from your husband, your boyfriend, your fiance. You guys, we talked about trips. Take a trip by yourself. Do stuff with your girlfriends. Have a me day. Go to the play or something with your family. When you realize, or you turn around and you're not with your family anymore, you're not with your girlfriends anymore, you're not doing things by yourself to make you happy, that's not probably a healthy relationship. And so I would say try to do things alone. You could like football, he could like football. Doesn't mean you have to do it together. You could go watch something with your friends and he can do something with his friends. And sometimes, ladies, we have to admit we're on our, guys' butts because of fear. They might be cheating. Who you going with? Girl, if he's cheating, let
Yeah,
him cheat.
no.
I
It's
don't have
going
it.
to you most likely. No, but I'm saying a lot of women's like, well, where you go? Why can't I go? Or who you were with?
Oof,
All
no.
those questions are, to me, and now that I'm older, I don't know if I necessarily did that. I didn't do that with my husband, but I did that sometimes here and there after certain things happen in that toxic relationship. But yeah, but now if that happened now, the relationship probably wouldn't continue. But I guess for this question, I would say try to have your own identity because it's super important. And it goes back to the first question. When you love yourself, there will be no what so and so said, or but I also would say whoever's listening who's married, be cognizant of your single friends. You don't be mindful of what you say to them. You don't know, like Jazzy just said, she was watching a movie the other night and she would have loved to have not a man but even just a companion, and that could be weighing on her and her mentally. And then here you come, me and my man, like, girl, she's single.
And
Why?
And the thing is, and the thing is, I will say I'm very blessed to have friends that show up for me and make time for me, even in their relationships, right? I've
Yeah.
always been a person, I never will forget, there was somebody in my neighborhood when I was little. Her and her friend got into a fight, and it was because her friend had a boyfriend. It wasn't a fist fight; it was just like a verbal fight. And I just happened to be outside. I was like, "Lord, what is happening here?" But it was something that always stuck with me, and this has always stuck with me because she was saying basically, like, "Listen, you should always make time for your friends." And this is something that I think so often we shut doors on people when we get into relationships, right? And we're like, I'm in a relationship now and I can't talk to you. And it's like, no, you should be able to foster both relationships, right? You shouldn't have to stick in your relationship and say, well, I can't talk to you anymore, girl, because me and my man and my man, because the first person you're going to call when your man does something is me, right? So it's like, you should be able to have your friendship in your relationship and have both and be okay with that. And I think sometimes, like I said, I'm really blessed to have the friends that I do because they make time for me. I make time for them. And like Gwendolyn said, like, just because I don't have a man doesn't mean I'm sitting at home, like waiting for somebody I'm doing things. I'm busy. I'm keeping myself busy. Right. And so I think so often, like, there are people that are just like, okay, you're not doing anything. You're always available. And you're just like, no, I'm not. I'm like going to take myself to a movies today, or I'm going to go and get a facial today, or I'm going, whatever the case may be. But I do think it's important as people in general that we show up for people in our life. No matter if I'm married or not, no matter if I have a boyfriend or not, show up for your people and always try to make yourself not overly available, but just know that if you're friends with somebody and they're friends with you, like, try to be that friend to that person. So, yeah.
May I jump on that? Because you were in my head, Jazzy. You're in my head.
My bad.
I know every now and then I got like that connection. You know what I'm saying? I can't help but point out society, and I'm going to call it propaganda. You can call it programming. But these are the messages that we see in the movies, in our TV shows, on the news. We see that when a woman, not a young man, when a woman gets married, the marriage becomes her entire identity. Her being a mother becomes the entire identity. You have to give space for the husband to have night out with the guys, poker night, this, that, other. You must be at home. That's programming. It's programming. Right. So when people get into a relationship and they are not whole because relationships, platonic or otherwise, because we have people who are really clingy friends. I know y'all know a couple of them. I don't have that because I'm a Virgo, right? I know y'all have a couple of those. When you get into any relationship and you are not whole, you're looking for that person to complete you, but they should complement you. Yeah. My husband and myself, we have things we do together and things we do apart. There is never a question or worry of what's happening. My husband knows my first husband, Ron Foster. He knows. Okay? He knows. I know, right? It's like, wait a minute, I'm sorry. What are y'all doing? You know what I'm saying? And it's good. My male friends, he knows my male friends. They have their own relationship. Right? Yeah. When I got engaged, he went to my best friend to ask her about certain things that I didn't even know about until a year afterwards. I was like, he talked to you? And she was like, yeah. Right? But if you are secure in who you are, if you're secure in who you are, then you don't have the whole, like, your relationship does not become your identity. Now, that may sound judgmental. It is meant to be judgmental. Yes, it is. It's meant to be judgmental. That is that. So figure out who you are before you get into a relationship. If you have not dated yourself, if you don't like your own company, look, let me just take a drink on that real quick. Hold on. Take one of those shots. Take a shot. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like, look.
That's part of doing the solo things, because you should be able to enjoy your own company, right?
Yeah.
I remember this, when you guys were talking, made me think about this, pivot a little bit. So a couple years back, maybe like 3 years, I think, you guys know who Little Duval is?
Yes.
He's like a rapper. So he used to do this thing, I don't know if he still does it, called Auntie of the Week. And he chose me to be one of the aunties of the week. My phone was blowing up. And I was just shocked. And then so I started reading the comments, and there was, some people were like, oh, that's Malik Sealy's wife and blah, 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 mostly complimentary. But there were several men who said, oh, she's 52 and she's still single. Something's wrong with her. And I find a lot of women feel they're believing that. Like, they're like, oh, I'll never get married. I'm too old. If you want to get married, there is most definitely your match out there. Like Jazzy said, I'm Jazzy. I'm really feeling like someone's going to be in Trader Joe's and I'm going to find him. He's going to be ringing my doorbell for something. I don't know, but I don't really go too many places to meet a guy. But, how I joked earlier, a lot of guys come on my DM, but I know it's because of my bathing suit content, but that's not that person. Those kind of guys is not the guy for me. So I've just, ignore those kind of guys. But I also was just so bothered that these people were like, something must be wrong with me because I'm at this big age and I'm, not married or in a relationship. And then a couple other people wrote, her husband died in a car accident. So then the guy wrote, oh, I didn't know, I'm sorry. But that shouldn't be the reason that, you say sorry, you make judgment upon some women, the same way that we make choices not to have children. I do have a child, but some women make choices not to have a child. They're actually making conscious decisions not to be in a relationship. And that's okay. I'm one of them at this point. Like I said, I'm not really searching. If somebody comes around, that's great, but I'm super content. And I've been alone for so long that I don't know how I would be in a relationship. Like, I don't have to ask anyone for anything. And so, but also too, a lot of men, they say they want an independent woman, but then when they get them, their egos are triggered, and someone you don't need them. So now they're resenting you because you don't need them. So it's a lot of like mommy issues, daddy issues across the board. I'm sure there's, females have the same, women have the same thing. But I saw this video today, and the young lady said that if your standards aren't high enough, then they have to be high, because the person is who you're going to marry is only one person you're going to marry. So you have to have the ultimate utmost, well, not, I'm not saying you can get divorced, but I'm saying you're vying for one spot in that time. I saw his face, Lord have mercy. I see what Ron talking about with them faces. No, what I'm saying, in that moment, I'm sure people can have multiple marriages. I'm saying in the moment when you are thinking you're dating and you're dating for marriage, you're dating for one person. Unless you're, I don't know, Kevin Gates or somebody, but you're vying for one person. And so that person should have all the top standards. You shouldn't like lower your standards because, like I said earlier, the person's there. And I feel sometimes inspirational when G tells me, she got married later in life. Okay, so there's a chance for me. She's younger than me, but I mean, in terms of like, she wasn't 22, they weren't high school sweethearts. They met on an app, I believe.
A dating app, yes.
Yeah,
a dating app.
I'm a little nervous about the dating apps, but it still gives hope that Prince Charming is out there. But I don't know if anybody's really Prince Charming, but a compatible mate who's in alignment with who I am right now in my space. And also, just now that I thought about that, women have to also realize the person you were with at 24, and I'm sure Alieze can attest to this, your husband is not the same person that you were at 30. And you have to learn to pivot and love them in the different incarnations of them. And a lot of times we don't want to pivot. In the world that I'm in, the basketball world, there are a lot of people who get divorced after the guy retires from the league, because most of the time that you guys were married, you were in a relationship with somebody who was on the road. It was like you were basically like the person at home, and you see your husband here and there. But then when they retire, who is this guy home all the time? Like, why is he here? What is he going to do? And so that causes friction, because we like what we like, male and female. And when someone comes and messes up our, thing we have going on, it can cause problems. So yeah, I don't know. I always think about that. Like, I don't know and I'm also very picky. Like, if you just have the wrong shoes on, I'm going to be like, look at his shoes. And I know that's bad, but I know it's going to irk me. And so let's just not even move forward. I'm bad.
Well, that last part where you were talking about when they retire and they're at home, maybe think about during COVID and how many people got divorced because of COVID.
Yes.
Yes. My husband and I had a ball. We were like, all right, we can go walking. We don't have to do anything. We were like, okay, this is fine with us. It didn't matter that we had to be inside. What did we eat today? Where are we going to walk today? That didn't bother us at all. I said, those are the same ones that hate snow days and their kids. Oh,
yeah.
When are you gonna let these kids go out here in this 20 inches of snow? They're cool. Those same people. But I think you have to. The first thing that you have to know, even when you talk about standards, the first thing is you have to know is you.
Yeah.
What works for you? I've been married a long time, and I know we'll talk about that later. I've been married since I was 19. And a lot of people are like, how did you know? It's like, so mine was more divine, but the list of things was very short.
Yeah.
It was extremely short. It had not, you were going to treat me right because I had this very different temperament. I was raised by a father. So yeah, there was nothing about touching people, not understanding what that meant to you. So, and you would definitely be alone. But, it's those things that you have, that's the first thing that came. What do you know about yourself? And then, because I always tell people, when I'm praying for this, I said, so you prayed for a tall, dark, and handsome, you forgot to leave that you didn't want him to be crazy. Mm-hmm. You didn't want him to be abusive. But you just for a thing that society told you should be what you're looking for. And maybe that's a difference. Society didn't have time to tell me anything.
Because you were so young?
I was young, but I also I always felt that I was raised by my relationship with my mother wasn't the best, but men that God placed in my life. My father, the man she was with, showed me such examples of what men were, how they could love people.
Yeah.
And so they were very loving people. So their sacrifice was just all the time. They weren't any of those things. And so my standard was based on these loving people.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know any of the other bad habits. And I was very observant. I'm the person that will sit in the corner and watch all of the people first. And I know who I don't want to come next to me. So I just kind of instinctively knew I had some instincts that were inside of me.
Yeah.
So I could tell things. But I think the biggest thing was knowing what I could and could not live with, which is a question I asked my niece. She's single now. My kids blame me for it. They said she's still single at her age now because you talked to her before she got married. She was all set to get married. The wedding, the gown, the reception, everything was paid for. And we talked one day, and she was telling me these little things that bothered her. Like, I went outside and he said this. My sister called and he said this. And I said, so my question, I have only one question. Can you live with that for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Can you live with that for your rest of your life? You know what controlling looks like?
Yeah.
Can you live with that for the rest of your life? She decided no. And I said, because you know what? On your wedding day, we can have lunch. So on her wedding day, because her father had paid for the reception, we had lunch. Her former fiance was there. All the family was there. We had lunch because my thing was I didn't tell her what to do. Ask her what could she live with. Asked several people that, and they have had to sit and think. And I used to do wedding cakes, and I would tell brides this. We always used to tell brides this. I said, don't start anything just because you think that's what you're supposed to do. If that's not something you want to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And either you're gonna marry or not, but I didn't advise people not to. I just said, what are you willing to accept?
Yeah, because once you're in it, you're in it. And then it's legal, and then there's ramifications for undoing it. So I applaud her for being, of sound mind to be like, yeah, this is not good for me. I'm not going to do it. Because some people will go through the whole thing just to save face, or they don't want to waste their parents' money. Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah, she didn't do. She hasn't gotten married. I had to get them right. Niece and her husband passed. So my great nephews are now she's the guardian for them. She's the one for them. So she never had children of her own, but she has 3 sons. Mm-hmm. Your children can come to you in different ways as well. But yes. She didn't look at it as a flaw in her. She looked at it as that's an absolutely good thing to think about. And now I can reflect on all of these things that he's doing. What is it going to be? Because your life changes when you say I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Life changes with the word I do.
And it's not just actually you and him. It's now 2 families with so many people, even before you have children. It's just like normally, there's probably families, bride and grooms that don't have family, but for the most part, 2 big families are getting together. And so, let's make that a question. It wasn't on our list of questions, but so this could be someone in just a regular relationship, not married as well. But what would you do if you were married and your mother-in-law was just the biggest, what's the word? B, and your husband was not really believing that happened? Would you call your girlfriend, your sister friend, and tell her what's going on? Or would you feel a little bit guarded, embarrassed that you're going through this? Would you lean on your girlfriend when you were having trouble with your mate, whether husband, fiance, or boyfriend or girlfriend? Anybody could take it.
Well, I don't have a mother-in-law. I don't have a mother-in-law. Granny has already passed on anything. And where we are now, granted, we did get married older. And I do believe because we got married older and we knew ourselves, there's a difference in how we approach anything. I mean, there is the hot dog incident, right, that everybody kind of knows about now. But other than that, like, there really hasn't been any issues. But if I was to have any problems, I would probably call my mother because she's a minister. I'd probably call her. I don't know if I wouldn't probably go to like a girlfriend or something. I would seek somebody who could give me some really good guidance. And that's for everybody, that depends on who you see as being a reliable resource. But I would go for some guys like when Ms. Alieze was talking about your niece, you say, I remember my sister was engaged and we have an older cousin who was there at my parents' house and witnessing how they were interacting. And he said, I wouldn't know that you two were engaged because that doesn't look like love. The way he treats you, the way he talks to you doesn't look like that. So if you know someone that you trust and you trust their advice and their wisdom, then you would go that route. My parents were married for 50 years before my dad passed away. The day after they celebrated 50 years. I have seen good and bad. I have seen rich and poor. I saw sickness and health. So if I had any issues and I need to go to somebody, it would be my mother.
Right.
So in terms of like the topic we're having today, Galentines and sisterhood, for you, that sisterhood is not something you would lean on. Like, I'm Greek, I'm a Delta, so we say lean on the shield. You wouldn't lean on the sisterhood shield in something with that kind of situation.
No, okay. As a Virgo, we already give good advice. So for me to get advice for somebody else, you got to come correct. You know what I'm saying? So with that, that's gonna be Mama, Miss Houston, Ms. Houston, yeah. Okay. Because I'm just like, can I go to you? Not so sure about that. I have great girlfriends. But you know, Virgos are just a little particular when we get our advice. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
For me, it's like, I just look. We gonna fight this out. Go ahead and get in it. I don't ask people, and I think because, you know, when my husband, we were two people. Like we both had big size family. We used to be next door neighbors and family, and they were always around. But we became each other's friends. So if we have an issue, it's like, and I'm very honest. There's nothing that anyone in my life can tell my husband that he doesn't already know. Things he can tell people that they don't know about me, but there's nothing they can tell him about me, because no matter what it is, good, bad, or indifferent, whatever it is, I take it to him. Today, you know, that really got on my nerves. So we're going to talk about that right now. And what I tell him is this: we have a right to say what we have to say. We also have to feel the way we're going to feel about it. And I promise one of us will break, and we can talk about it. We can talk it over. And it may take him long because it takes him a longer time to process than me, because I'm the hot-headed one. He's more, my husband is, woof, he's Mr. Zen. I'm telling you, he is Zen. If you ever meet him, you're like, wow, he's like, yeah, he's very quiet. And so, but I've never sought someone else's advice on how to handle anything in our relationship, because I've always taken whatever it is to him. Whatever it is, feeling bad. It took me a long time to open up and share with him when I was going through my severe depression. To live and not die, I've shared that with him. But that's it. But any other thing, I always just, we have to fight it. We have to take kids, be like, man, y'all talk. Our kids like, y'all don't argue real stuff. Y'all just, you fuss about politics and stuff like that. But no, it's like, it's things that have nothing to do with our relationship.
Yeah. But so do you think that do you think that's one of the reasons for the longevity, like that you turn to him, and I assume maybe God as well, like you don't take it outside of the two of you, and you know, do you think that's been the crux of why you guys have lasted so long?
Yeah, because I think if you take things outside and not really trust your partner with that, it causes a different kind of stress and anxiety between the two of you all.
Yeah.
Because a part of it is you don't know when someone that you talk to is going to talk to them and accidentally, quote unquote, accidentally say something. I never wanted that stress. And I believe that if you're going to do life together, you need to do life together. You need to be open and honest with each other. I'm honest to a fault. You know, people like you. Yeah, I said all of that to my husband. It's like honest to a fault. But because I just think that when we try to seek other people's opinion, you're seeking their opinion. But when you bring it back, do you know how they feel, how your partner feels, what their opinions are, whether it's a friendship or your intimate relationship? Do you honestly know how they feel? You know what somebody else has to say. And you do need to go to wisdom. Like, I'm not going to go and consult with and I had a friend, my best girlfriend, I guess, she told her daughter asked her about relationships. She said, I don't know why you asking me. Call Alieze, because she's been married forever. I do not have a husband. I don't have a man. Don't talk to somebody who without a man on how to live with a man or get a man. Don't talk to me. Go talk to someone in a relationship to see what they've had to go through to stay there. And so that kind of stuff. But I've never consulted anyone on matters that exist between my husband and I.
Yeah, that's probably good. Let me ask you ladies a question. What do you think, what are some of the characteristics that you would say exemplify a good girlfriend that you want in someone being your girlfriend, your sister friend? What are some things that you look for, or not even look, but when you meet someone and you recognize these things, you know that person will probably end up being a good friend to you?
Ooh, I should probably go last. All right, I'll go first because Virgos be doing some things. Okay, so real talk.
Yeah, these Virgos. I know my son is one.
You already know, Ms. Alieze. You already know. So for me, I am very intentional with words. So when I say someone is a fellow this or an associate or a colleague or a stranger off the street, that's real. Everybody got a box. I don't give out friends loosely. As my mama said, everybody ain't your friend. So no, that does not. It doesn't just happen because, oh my God, my friend's like, no. So for me to grow a relationship, friendship, it's a relationship, right? I'm looking for trust. I'm looking for honesty, integrity, and character. If there is a couple of red flags, it's like, you probably gonna be in that box and stay in that box. It's hard to get out the box with Virgo. Just gonna put it out there for you. It is hard for us to forget. Like, we'll forgive some stuff. You ain't getting out that box though. We're not gonna do that. But if there is, I will say this. So my best friend, we are almost like 40 years, like 30 some years in. Was there a time where we had to break apart to come back together? Yes, but that was love. Love said, I love you enough for us to go away, take care of our stuff, and then come back together as adults and have a conversation and know and learn each other again. Because we were growing as young women, right? And I could have easily said, I am done with you, but I love her. I love that woman. There are other women where I have had some issues, and I was like, but I love that woman. And because I love her, I want to go back and figure it out and make this relationship work. So trust, honesty, integrity, character. And we do work on our communication, right? Because we got to talk about what it is that got us to this point. I want to get out in the open. I want you to share your feelings. I'm going to share my feelings. But I look for that when I am meeting people. But I am also side-eyeing every single person who comes in. I'm like, you ain't got your 90 days yet. So.
Gwendolyn is so funny.
Still on probation.
It's funny. Gwendolyn, my son is a Virgo, but my son also, when his friends meet me, and I say something, he said, now you know where I get this from. I'm a Gemini. He was like, Geminis have, I said, look, I have one. I am consistent. I am look, there's no, she's going to tell you this today and tomorrow something different. No. All of the things that Gwendolyn said are extremely important to me. Extremely important to me. I've had people especially in the last few years, you know, we call ourselves friends. And I tell my kids, I said, they're associates out there in the world. They're not your friends, they're associates. And you don't know them well enough to call them your friend. So, you know, you talk to me, you're talking every day, and then you decide to attack me at my character. Now we drawing lines. And so there's no box. They're not in a box.
They don't exist.
Out. They're just out. Because I'm not coming to the box, back to the box. That box is already at Goodwill. I'm not coming back for it. Because because your character and honesty and authenticity, all those things are very important, because that trust is something that once you break it, it's so hard to try to rebuild. And once you break my trust, that's it. And I've had friends, and it's not just female friends. I had friends, and Jazzy, is kind of like what Jazzy was saying earlier. I'm not the emergency glass for you to break. I replaced the glass with plexiglass. Now it's unbreakable. So you can't knock on my glass anymore. It's done. Because that's how some people compartmentalize you. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna call Lisa up because, you know, next year, because when I get in a bad, she can do this. But that's not Lisa's friend. That's someone who wants to use Lisa and be convenient whenever they feel like it. You know, that's my thing. You know, I heard Busta Rhymes say that one day. He said, "You never saw that you can't respond to the text." Those are conscious choices. So and that goes back to what I said about love before. Love is the two-way street. That's reciprocal. In friendships, if a true friendship there, it's reciprocal. And we can talk it out. We can have that conversation. I had a friend one time, so I went for a year. And this is as older adults. So we didn't speak for a year because of a disagreement we had. That after that year, we talked about it and say, look, this is how I really felt. And I had to share what I really felt at the time. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to pretend. And you have to, and I know it was hard for you to accept that what I had to say, but I had to say, and I didn't want to not be honest, because I don't want to sit and not be honest. So every time I see you, there's something inside of me that says, Lord, when is she going to leave? I want to be honest all the time so that, you know, when I see you, I like to be genuine, and I want that person to be genuine. I want the people to fall into, I don't want you to envy or covet anything I have. I had one friend, my best friend that I told you all about. One day she called and she asked her husband, why did he always answer the phone? On the phone. When he gave me the phone, I said, let me tell you something. You don't pay anything. And don't you ever in life again call and address my husband that way. Until you understand, don't you call my house. I'll call you. Because I have to show you not only how to respect me, but how to respect my household.
Right.
And we had to deal with that. And we got back together, got ourselves together. And we remained the closest of friends until she was no longer here.
Does anybody else want to tackle that before we move on to another question? That subject, the question I said?
I would just say, I mean, you all covered it. But for me, I think one of the things that I really value in friendship is loyalty. I think, you know, I've had friends for most of my friends in my life. I've known them for 20 plus years, right? 30 years. My one friend, we were like babies and we met each other. But I also think, like, what Gwendolyn said is about, like, if you truly love somebody, sometimes you do have those moments in that love where you have to let them go, especially in friendships, I think, because there's moments where you grow apart, not because you dislike somebody, but more so because of the fact that it's like, okay, I'm growing in this area, you're growing in this area. And it doesn't mean we're bad people because of it. It just means that we are not in the same place and we're not in alignment anymore. And I don't think that's a bad thing. But loyalty, honesty, being able to communicate openly with my friends, that's something that I value above anything else. Like you all said, like I think a lot of people use friend very loosely. I don't have a lot of friends. I have a lot of associates, but I don't have a lot of friends. You know what I mean? And for me, it's like I know, that I want to communicate with you, you want to communicate with me, and we both make space for each other. And it's okay to make that space for each other. And it's okay to say, hey, that sounds silly. Like my friends are very honest with me and I'm very honest with them. I remember I was talking to my friend the other day and I was like, hey, that sounds stupid. Like, and I was like, and this is why, like, you know what I mean? And some people, when you're not in their life for a long time or they don't know you, they're like, oh my gosh, that's harsh. And it's like, no, we know each other enough to say that sounds ridiculous. And then like, come back together and say, okay, I see where you're coming from. And we don't always agree. Like, I don't always agree with my friends and they don't always agree with me, right? It's not about being agreement buddies. It's about being real with each other and having honest conversations with each other and being able to really support one another in a way that we can uplift each other. I've never, and it's weird, like I don't like when people are friends with somebody because they want what they have, right? Like, I think that's the weirdest thing in the world to me. Because for me, I'm like, hey, like, that's their life, right? That's not my life. I'm proud of you, right? But I know people, and I've seen it firsthand, where people will come into somebody's life and because you have access to things, they will want the same access that you have. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want any of that, right? And there's people in a certain kind of world where there's a lot of fake people around them, and I'm like, oh, I don't want that, right? So I just think for me, it's about loyalty and being real and honest with the people that love you, because real friends will be honest with you and tell you the things that you don't always want to hear. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes what happens is because we don't want to hear it, we're like, I'm getting rid of this person, right? And we're so quick to do that. But it's like, no, that person is being a friend to you. And I think we just have to value that in a person, and I'm blessed that my friends and I have that communication. And like I said, we don't always agree, and we'll sit in the phone and be like, that sounds crazy, or like, you know what I mean? I'm very happy that we can have that conversation with each other and not make it like a whole big thing. There's people that I've known every year, on our birthday, on Christmas, on Thanksgiving, on Easter. We will text each other, how you doing? Love you, happy, whatever it is. And then we will not talk into those days. But I know that if I see any one of them, we can sit down at a table and act like we have seen each other every single day. And you know what I mean? Like, so I appreciate that. So yeah, that's what friendship means to me.
I would say, well, everything that you guys said, but also for me, and I've had a couple of friendships that have spiraled out when people misinterpret your intentions, like, or if they don't, like, if you know me and you're my friend, then you know my intention for you is nothing but good. And so when they take that to be something else, I'm like, do you know me? Like, I wouldn't be your friend if I was in competition with you, if I wanted to say mean things to you. So that's something that I don't like. And I like for people, uh, girlfriends, to let both of us let each other be who we are. I have a slick tongue. I will say, and slick meaning, if I don't like the pants you got on, I'm like, girl, where you get them pants from? Like, like, I will say that, and but not meaning anything bad, because I'm telling you what everybody's gonna say when we get to the party. I'm just telling you right now, probably need to change. Like, and so I'm very honest, and a lot of people can't take that, my honesty, which is, I mean, I can't be anything other than me. And the other thing I would say is support. I've talked with Gwendolyn about this 5,001 times. Um, it I would like friends, girlfriends, guy friends to show up when you need them. And unfortunately, that's not the case. People show up kind of when they think you're on the come up, or maybe like Alieze said, they want something. They see where you're going, but they're coming. They weren't there when you were struggling. And even sometimes, like for me, I have an online business, all kinds of things, entrepreneurial spirit. And everybody can buy something, right? But I see people like wishing, Beyonce happy birthday, or like, you don't know her. She never even posts online. She's never going to see that. But you won't repost one of your friends' things or your friends. So it's like, for me personally, I have been toiling with this, like even getting rid of my whole Instagram, because I feel like, are these people my friends? Like some of them, I mean, obviously I have a lots of followers, and I know that's from the bikini stuff, but the core people, let's say if I know 1,000 of them, you would think maybe you might get 10 people in a day, maybe to repost this live we had today. The people who posted it are on this live today. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I don't know. I wish that I could find, and it's so weird because then you have, well, I sometimes have like, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, but you see other friend groups posting things, and they seem so like in tune to each other, and they're doing this and that. And I'm like, God, can you just send me a couple of ladies like that? Because where they at? Because I always get the Fruit Loops. And my son always says to me, you collect all your friends, you collect misfits. And I was like, maybe, because I always feel like I'm going to help them. I can help them. I can help do this. And now I'm not that anymore. Like, I can't help. I really can't help anymore. I can barely help myself. So I gotta, move on. But I think that, I would like to have, so when I see someone that shows up, I'll just tell something personal. 2 weeks ago, it was the anniversary. It was my husband's birthday. Obviously, I don't know who came in late, but my husband passed away. And Gwendolyn just sent me a text. Hey, I was just checking on you. See how you doing? How you feeling? How's your mental? And I didn't even think of that, because I think I said something else. Oh, I'm good, girl. I'm just doing this and this. But she literally just sent a text to check to see how I was. I never met this lady a day in my life. And there's people who I've known since I was 10 that didn't do that. You know what I mean? So I would hope that I can attract that kind of energy back to me, so that, I can repay another woman for what I felt Gwendolyn gave to me, I wanted to ask you guys a question about Galentine's Day. What do you think about Galentine's Day? Is it like, you think it's a marketing thing, and even Valentine's Day, like what do you guys think about this, this holiday?
It's all marketing, but I was it's all marketing to me, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, I think that if you have the ability to support and uplift people, then you should. I don't know. I'm getting feedback. It might be me though. I'm not sure. I don't know. But yeah, so yeah, I think that like, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think the biggest thing about Valentine's Day, all of it, right, is really to show up for people in your life in an actionable way. And, we should always be doing that. Like we said in the beginning of this, like, love is an action word. It really is. It's not about just saying, hey, I love you or whatever. It's about showing up when people need you, not just in a monetary way, not just in a, physical way. Sometimes, like you said, it was a text from Gwendolyn that made your day, that made you feel special. You know what I'm saying? There's oftentimes Alieze will send me just, hey, I'm just sending you love. I just want to say hello and I love you and have a great day. Right. And those things to me are important because people will show up in ways where I think sometimes they always feel like I have to get you something and I have to, no, just a phone call, a hello, a text,
Yeah.
just to see how you are. Those little things I really do feel like make people feel special. And I don't think you need a day to do that. Like this, all of this is a gimmick and it's it's marketing, right? They want people to buy cards and all this other stuff, right? A lot of my friends that are in couples, like they don't like celebrating Valentine's Day because they just feel like you should be doing that anyway, right? Like, because you should be loving on your people, regardless of the 14th, the 13th, the 12th, whatever the day is, right? So I just feel like as long as you're showing up for people, I love that people want to show up for people, and I want to show up for my friends. So if Galentine's gets you to do that, by all means do it. You know what I mean? Marketing and all. So
I think Galentine's kind of has given women a little more confidence in celebrating each other.
Mm-hmm.
That Valentine's Day didn't always allow you to do, right? It was
Right.
always specific. You got to be in this couple thing to do this Valentine. It was always, the best thing for my relationship. I'm allergic to chocolate, so you don't have to worry about buying me candy, that kind of thing. And the celebration all the time. But I think the Galentine, I don't even think about whether or not I'm going to buy a card or anything. Just when we show up for each other, I think that's what it started being more for people. Like, groups of women who met online who say, and they may live in the area, we're going to have Galentine's Day. It wasn't even this week, but they have it anyway, just so they get together and celebrate being women together. And I think that's what that has given women the opportunity to do. And as you can see, with the four of us on the screen, we all from all different and walks of life, but we have that commonality and we celebrate each other. And I think that's what Galentine's Day has allowed women to do without feeling uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's okay for women to celebrate each other, and not have to say, oh, this is my love relationship. Yes, it is a love relationship. We love each other. So why can't we show it to each other and not have to have some issue with that? And I think that's what it allows. It frees some women up to do. It's just to be able to celebrate women together, celebrate each other together.
Ms. Alieze, I want to thank you for that. And yes, I am cheering up. I'm going to tell you why in a little bit, really quick. But one of my favorite TV shows that still hits me, it makes me a little teary-eyed, is The Women of Brewster Place.
Yes.
And I remember seeing this movie with all these Black women in this neighborhood, just loving and supporting each other. And I was like, dude, like that's awesome. Now, granted, I think I have a pretty cool family, right? Like my mother and her sister and my aunties and everything, and my dad's side, my auntie and stuff. I think I got kind of lucky. So I've seen that love, but to see that kind of love with the variety of relationships that was shown on The Women of Brewster Place, I was like, man, could I ever have that kind of relationship in real life? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. Is Valentine's and Galentine's marketing? Yes, it is. I do agree with the Galentine saying that for women, you don't have to be booed up with somebody to know that you're worthy, right? And me, myself, my husband and I, we don't celebrate Valentine's. We don't celebrate Christmas. We do gift giving and loving on each other and our loved ones and family and friends all year long. We do it all year long. So I think it's great to have it to remind people. But if you are actively loving your family, friends, and loved ones, and I know how I feel about death. I talk about death all the time. It's like a library. You check out a book, you got to turn that book back in at some point. So today is now. Tomorrow's not promised, so be present. But when we have let go of our loved ones and we put them back on the shelf, that grief, we have moments. Sometimes we're like there, and other moments we're like, ugh. And I remember telling Lisa that my mother was having a moment. And I'm getting teary-eyed still. She was having a moment thinking about my dad. And I said, well, Lisa is probably having a moment too. So I just wanted to know if she was okay. Because we all have those moments.
Absolutely. And that's the beautiful thing about it. It's like
Yeah.
being able to share those times and being and feeling safe enough to
Yes.
share those things and reach out to each other, because a lot of times when we are going through our own emotions and feelings, that's what happened. Because recently I was an artist posted a picture and of a father holding some kids, and it made me think about my because you all know my story about my father. And so that was recently, and I understand how I miss my father. Um, and I don't feel certain things when it comes to my mother, but that whole having someone just to know and sense. And that's why I believe in when I feel it and I feel I reach out to them, because I don't know when I send that message if that person is how they're gonna say it. And I've had people send messages back to me and say, "Man, you don't know how much I needed to hear that today." And all it was a simple hello, how are you? And I love you. We just
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, I think that I think I responded back to Gwendolyn like, oh well, I'm so used to doing this by myself that I just keep it in. Like, I think that people, when they think about me, they feel sorry. They don't want to actually have a mirror. Like that could happen to me too. And so over the years, believe me, I've cried on many of friends, you know, phone lines, shoulders, whatever. And I just have learned to just deal with it myself. And Gwendolyn wrote back, "That's not good." And I said,
And
"No,
she's right.
I don't mean that. I used the wrong word. I think I said I internalize it, but that's not what I meant. I meant that I deal with it, but I just deal with my grief by myself, because I just don't think that other people like I. This is something I always think about. When you ask somebody how they're doing, most people don't really care how you're doing. They just saying that as something they were learned to say. That's a formatted question that we were taught to say, but they don't really want to know if you are sad, if you don't have any money, if your husband beat you. They don't want to know. They just want to know good stuff, right?
So Lisa,
So
I want to tell you, I ever reach out to you and you just tell me okay, I'm gonna ask you, what does that mean? I'm that person. Because
yeah,
okay to me is like there's something there.
yeah,
And I'm that's just who I am, right?
yeah,
But you're right. So many people don't really want to know. But if I get it back, you say okay, or you just say good.
yeah,
To me, that's something that's needed there. And as women, and particularly, I say specific, especially for Black women, we've been taught to that we have to hold ourselves,
mm-hmm,
that we keep it in ourselves. And I know that's what I was taught. It wasn't necessarily taught. That's how I grew up, right?
yeah,
Feeling that way. So I felt I often carried everybody's thing on my shoulders and never let somebody else carry mine. And so we
yeah,
often feel like, okay, so like I can handle this. And on the inside, actually, are we really handling that well?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
it does come out some way. And so, but that's how we've been kind of groomed or told that we're supposed to be that elusive, as Gwendolyn says all the time, and it also gives me, it's like they're so strong. I know. My thing is like, okay, so and I have a little joke in my house when I have done everything for everyone, I'll say, now the servant girl is off.
yeah,
She's tired today. She's gonna go and rest, and you all can take care of her, and you can figure out how you all gonna survive for the day because the servant girl is tired. And sometimes
yeah,
we have to embrace that part of us. And you're right, because you had to hair for long, and then depending on how people respond to you, you gotta say, what's the use in saying it? But
yeah,
you don't hear. And it's wonderful that Gwendolyn felt it and reached out to you, because
yeah,
that gave you kind of a sense that not everyone is like that, and there are people
yeah,
out there who really care. I never ask if I say, how are you doing? I want to know how you're doing.
yeah,
One of my artist friends just lost his father. I reached out to him today. I sent him a text. I'm just checking in. Want to know how you and the family are doing, because I knew
Yeah.
how close he was to his father.
Yeah.
Did he expect me to do that? Probably not. You know, we know
But it
each
made him
other.
feel good. It made him feel
Right.
good.
Right.
Um, if anybody, we're starting to, we're going to close this down in about 15 minutes, but if anybody has any questions that they'd like us to answer, or something you want to us to bring up, you can put maybe a Q in the comment section so that we know that you want us to address that. While we're waiting, if you guys want to do that, I have another question. What's one non-negotiable in your self-care practice that you protect at all costs? Like, this is what I'm doing for me, and I'm not budging. For me, I'll say it's travel. I I don't know if you guys saw my story, but I just bought like this piggy bank that um you can't open it. It's like a box, and it won't open until you bash it with a hammer. And I decided I want to go to Japan, so I said I'm going to stuff this thing, and this money will go towards my vacation. And so for me, traveling is something that I totally love, and I just would not, if I was in, another thing, I wish we could have like a two-part of this thing, but I was in a relationship. I've always been a traveler, and I was in a relationship that I did not travel for 10 years because the person I was with didn't have a passport, money, blah, 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 blah. And so I took on that and didn't go anywhere either because, and I remember when my son was little, we would go everywhere for spring break. And he said, "Where are we going for spring break?" I'm like, "Well, we're not going because so-and-so doesn't have the passport." He said, my son, and he was little, he said, "Well, he can just stay home. We can still go." And I should have taken my son's advice, but me trying to be the doting partner, I guess not misery, but suffering. I was going to suffer with him. But yeah, I think for me it's traveling. I'm not going forward. I'm not changing that for anyone. Okay. Oh, somebody else go.
I guess I don't know. That's a tough. I don't like. I've been so that's a weird question for me because like so there is one particular thing I do every month is I go to get a facial every month, and I made myself start doing this actually because I was just like, oh, okay, like you need to do something for you because I never did, like I wasn't doing anything for myself, and I was like, you have to like cut out something and like actually do it for yourself and like make time to do it, and that's like my thing to do for myself. And it's my time to just like decompress, relax. I love my esthetician. She's like, Miss Tony, if you're watching, shout out to you. But it's just my time to just like unwind and not think about anything in anybody but myself and like put the care back into myself. So I guess that would be my thing. Like I love traveling, but for me, it's like, I'm a go. So I'm gonna be out. Like, bye, see you later. So yeah.
Yeah. And you all know me, so it's I'm gonna do my art. I'm gonna take my trips and galleries all the time. I go to art exhibits around DC. I will travel for art, and I do it for myself. You know, I told my, you know, you don't have to want to go do this, but I'm gonna do it for me. And so that's the thing that's real sacred for me is being able to go out there and go talk to artists, go see art, travel, go sit on the beach in LA and buy alone and watch the sunset, watching sunsets over the water. I don't like the beach, but I like sunset over water. So those are things that I keep sacred for me. I like dating myself. You know, taking myself out.
Yeah.
And every time, whenever I go to a place, whether it's New York or LA, any place I go, I will find a restaurant and I treat myself extremely well. Extremely well. And I tell people now, you may not want to go to this restaurant. because it's not going to cost you $20.
Yeah.
I love me. I'm like Gwendolyn. I love myself. So when I go, I sit down there from the beginning to the end, have that dessert if they have an amazing dessert, but I treat myself well.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where it starts. I'm not gonna treat myself any less than I want someone else to come in and do. So when I go on a trip and people say, "Where'd you eat?" Sometimes they go like, "Well, yeah, I ate there." And I went stuff and I paid for myself because I deserve every minute of all of that. And so those are my things. And my family, what's been really, really for me is that my husband is, I always tell people, and it's funny because I think I can't remember if Lisa said this about unconditional love. My husband has taught, he taught me what unconditional love looks like and feels like. He's not around here peeking around a corner saying what you're doing and why you're doing it. That's not him. What is it that you want to do? How can I, where is it that you want to go? Go and do that. Go and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
I'll be here. He doesn't say, man, you do too much of that when are you going to stay? No, that's not him. When he right now, I have a trip that's coming up at the end of the month. He said, just let me know what the days are, the dates, so I can put it on my calendar. That's all he wants to do is put it on the calendar so he knows if he has to drop me off at the metro station or pick me up at the airport so that he knows those kinds of things. The beauty of where our relationship is that it's not one that's contingent on us doing everything together. And it's not one where there's something that says, oh, you can't do that. And everyone in my life, from my husband to my children, my granddaughter's like, when you going and are you going to buy art this time? I buy it if I want it, if I can afford it. But I think that's the freedom that I have. And so that's like my art life and my life of when I feel like I want to travel, get on a train or a plane. I don't compromise that because that's a part of how I maintain my mental well-being.
Right.
Physical well-being, because your mind affects your body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
G? Every Sunday I do a bubble bath. So we have the bubbles and we pour a ball of bubbles. And I think I'm in there for like, I know, we're talking 9 o'clock. And no, I don't have orange juice because it don't even matter. We're talking maybe an hour to 2 hours. I kind of become a prune. But it's just my time to just relax. I put on my little music, sometimes some meditation music, and I'm there. That's my time. And I'm not rushed out. Sometimes I get like a little snack while I'm in there soaking. So yeah.
Yeah,
that's how
I
start my week. That's how I start the week.
Every single night. I feel like that is I mean, when I go to my mom's, I really feel stressed out because my bath is really a way for me to reset. And it's just quiet. You're in there. I love a steaming bath. If I'm having a glass of wine, I don't always do, but I might have a cup of tea, whatever. I play music like Gwendolyn and I just chill until the water starts getting a little cold. I'm like, okay, it's time to get out, but I'll stay in there. And I literally can't wait. If I'm out all day, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get in the bath. It's just a perfect way to end the day and then restart. I don't see any questions. I'm not sure.
Can I tell you?
Okay, go ahead.
Can I tell you something that really started me thinking about that years ago? Heather Headley has a song called "Me Time."
Oh, really?
I
okay.
love that song. It says "Me Time," not some "we time."
Yeah,
but "Me Time." And
yes.
I used to play songs for my kids, my students when I taught. And I started listening to that song and I was like, yeah, I get it. I have to have me time.
Yeah.
And that's and I think it's wonderful that we all know what that feels like for us, because we, make yourself feel special. I go out and I buy my own flowers from Trader Joe's or wherever I can get them.
Me too. Yeah, because you shouldn't wait for a man to buy you flowers. If you like them, get them yourself. Anything. Like if you want to buy yourself a piece of jewelry, whatever. We don't need a guy. Most people would love to have a guy, or they appreciate the guy, but the guy doesn't make them, or the female, if they're in alternate relationship. But I didn't know how to say that. I was like, I don't want to get canceled. But But yeah, you know, you can make your own happiness. You don't need someone else to do it. But it's fun to, you know, have sister friends to do stuff with. So you know, I'm hoping, like I said, that 2026 and further, I'll be able to attract like-minded people in my life. I don't see any questions, so I don't know. Does everybody? We have about 6 minutes before we close out. Does anybody want to tie up and say something to tie up tonight? G
Well,
can go
I'll
last.
share something.
I was gonna say, because you always speak well, so I was like, oh, you should go last, but go first.
Who, me? I should go
Yeah.
last?
No,
Oh.
yeah, I like, yeah, go ahead. You know, I'm giving you a compliment, like around the way compliment, but I like the way you talk and you type and stuff.
I'm gonna let Miss Alieze with all the wisdom close us out. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? But I was, but as you were saying, you know, being canceled, I don't believe in canceling people.
Oh. What happened?
Is so many dimensions, right? I have a son-in-law, I have a daughter-in-law because my daughter has a wife. I don't have kids of my own, but I love my grandbabies. I love my nieces, my nephews. I do believe that when you know how to, as Miss Ali says, date yourself, and I continue to date myself, right? Give myself all the things. It just shows up differently. And I know that this society, God bless us, and I hate to say it, but the programming that we have has us as women thinking that without these things or this person, we are less than. It is so hard to walk away from programming. It really is. And I know I say that, but you know, I'll be 25 years and walking away from programming in September. 25 years. So yes, there's a party coming and confetti, but because you know, like I just love a good party. But that's 25 years of redefining beauty for myself, what love looks like, loving myself, walking in my own authenticity, showing up at every moment and not taking on someone else's BS. That's 25 years of doing that, Lord willing, if I get to September. Right. And it sounds like, but when we think about the messaging we're giving as young girls, we're giving baby dolls. You're going to be a great mother. You're going to be a great wife. We don't see it as programming, but it is programming. It is. And I just want every young lady, be her 9 years old or be her 75 years old, to recognize you are whole by yourself. You are worthy of love by yourself. End of story, point blank, period.
Yes. Jazzy?
So for me, I'm going to say date yourself with the asterisk, right? And the asterisk I'm going to throw out there is with intention of loving on yourself and not the intention of finding somebody through your dating of yourself. Because I think when people say that, right, people often say like, okay, you have to love on yourself. And if you love on yourself, you're going to attract a man. And I'm like, hey, stop doing that. Stop telling people that, right? Because the reality is you should love on yourself because you want to love on yourself. And that's it.
Yeah.
Like full stop, period. Right. And I think the quicker we allow ourselves to fully understand and believe that and ingest that within our soul, the better off that we will be as women, especially in teaching other women and guiding them in that kind of self-love without the intention of getting a man from it. Because I have heard so many times people are like, when you love on yourself, right, that's when you're going to get your man. It's like, what does that have to do with the man? Right? Like, why do I have to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I get what the sentiment is, but I think when we say that, I think sometimes people don't see it as like, oh, I'm doing this because I want this person. No, just do it because you're loving yourself. I never will forget when I was younger. I was in my 20s, back in my 20 days. I'm still there. But anyway, when I was younger, I remember my mom, I was like, man, I want to go out to eat and I want to, do this. She said, okay, so do it. And I was like, well, by myself? Like, I was appalled at this time because I was like, why would I go out and eat by myself? Like, who does that? And she said, the only way you're going to love on yourself is by like actually taking yourself out and experiencing things for yourself. And you have to be okay without being afraid of just saying, like, I'm doing this for me, wholly for me, and nobody else. And not because I want a man. So I think that, you know, it's important that we do that. And I thank you, Lisa, for putting this together. I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Okay, Alieze. Wait. Say one more time for me, Alieze. I'm so used to calling you Alieze for like 3 years now that
I use it as people say Alieze, but it's actually Alieze.
Alieze. Okay, go ahead.
But you know, I think the most important thing is what people have said is loving yourself. You know, getting to know who you are, and not look for external things for happiness. Because once you love yourself, it's not about finding any other people acting other people. It's being able to look in yourself in the mirror and say, "Man, I love how I look today, how I feel today," and genuine. Don't care about anyone else. You know, I'm at that point. Look, I'll be 70 years old this year. I'm at that point. Was like, I don't care how you feel about me, but this is how I'm feeling today. Yeah, that's the most important thing, is knowing that part and not worrying about what other people say and do. And I don't think it really took for me to understand that about myself. It took time for other people to accept it about me, to accept that I was who I was. You know, I was a child in the 70s in high school in 73, the only child in my whole high school with cornrows. And like, oh, yes, I do. And what are you going to say about it? So other people had to accept who I was. My family had to accept who I am. And that when I went through my change, starting in 2018, they had to accept the new parts of me. I said, I'm molded, and we do change over time, parts of us and how we express ourselves. But the most important part is that self-love, and that knowing that the happiness and joy comes from inside of you. Nobody has control over that. And we have been conditioned by society to think that that's all external. And I watched this movie that I never watched before with Sidney Poitier in it. And Dearborn or something like that. And they kept saying, oh, something was wrong with him. They said he went to a psychiatric hospital. They wanted to try to get his land, but they kept saying, well, do you have contact with people? Well, everyone in the whole town loved him. And my thing is, contact had to be him having a woman in the house, him touching people. He was totally happy and content with his whole life. But you wanted to, because he didn't, society thought he should have as a life, a person, or had a relationship with some woman or somebody, something was wrong, when he was probably the most sane person in the whole, because he was comfortable with who he was. He loved people and cared for people that he loved and cared for. If he didn't, he just let you know he didn't love and care for you. But they wanted him to make him feel like something was wrong. And that's what society does to us. Try to make us feel like, whether it's male or female, make you feel like it's something wrong. My husband, who, like I told you, gentle soul, my brother, oldest brother, was like, man, you don't do this, you don't do that. She has you under control. I said, no, I don't have him on anything. That's who he is. You are. This man respects me. And later on in life, my brother, in tears, he has so much respect for my husband and I because of the way we lived and loved each other and took care of our kids. And he was married that whole time. It took him a long time to understand who we were and to accept my husband didn't do all the things that he did because he didn't see that as being a man. All of those things that weren't really good for him to be a man. He didn't have to smoke or drink or use profanity. He didn't have to do any of those things. And it took him a long time to understand that my husband was who he was. And he was an individual. And I raised my children to be individuals. I don't pressure them about who you're gonna marry. Are you happy? My daughter in Texas is one of the most beautiful people I know, inside and out. I mean, she's absolutely gorgeous to me. And I tell her all the time, do you know how gorgeous you are? I don't care if anybody else ever tells her that. And I had each one of them a diamond ring when they were younger. I said, because they need to know it doesn't take another man outside of them
Right.
to validate them.
Yeah.
So that was important to me. But I tell all the time, I tell my children how amazing they are. Because that's where it starts. I don't want them to live a life because they feel I want them to live it. Society demands that of them. If you want to be single for the rest of your life, be like, but live it.
Mm-hmm.
Live it. Take trips. Enjoy yourself. You want to go live in Mexico for a year, go do that. I'll come visit and give me another place to go visit and see. What art do they have? But that's all I want for them, to live their life. And that's what you all need to do. Don't care who, if you're listening out there and you're wondering about what lots of, and you're feeling woe is me, forget that. Enjoy yourself. Take yourself out tomorrow. Buy yourself a piece. That's what you want. Get the most expensive, whatever you can afford to eat it. But live for yourself and not for the world, because the world not going to give you anything. Sometimes they just want to see you miserable because they're miserable. Mm-hmm. Whatever brings you joy, do it. Encourage my own. I'm not saying something I said to my own children and my own family. Life is for living. And you all know my motto: living life, not just existing. Know the difference between existing and living. Existing is doing what you think others in society want you to do. Living is going out and enjoying your life. That's what living is. So I'll say that's what I end with.
Okay, thank you. So as we come to the end of this conversation, I want to say thank you to all the people who came in the chat and commented. I don't have my glasses, so I wasn't able to read most of the things, but thank you for showing up for us. Thank you for the women on the panel, Alieze, Jazzy, and Gwendolyn, for your vulnerability, for your wisdom, for your lived experience. And thank you to everyone who came to just sit with us tonight. When I'm reminded of this is love's not like one dimensional. It doesn't live just in romance. It lives in friendships, right? It lives in loyalty. It lives in honesty. It lives in the women who hold you up when life changes. And so we talked about, some of that, tonight. We talked about marriage. We talked about singlehood. We talked about widowhood. We talked about grief, growth, boundaries, loyalty, support, and what it really means to be a safe place for another woman. If there's one thing I hope you leave tonight with, is that sisterhood requires intention. It requires honesty, it requires courage, and it requires grace. We're all in different seasons, all four of us and all of you, we're all in different seasons, but none of us are meant to take this walk alone, right? So whether you're married, whether you're single, widowed, partnered, healing, or becoming, may you continue to choose love in all of its forms, and may you be the kind of friend you hope to have. And may you never forget that connection is still possible, even after loss, even after disappointment, even after change. Thank you for spending this Galentine's Day with us, and you guys have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Good night.